Sonny Hostin looked straight into the camera and said, America owes black people because black people built this country. That is the claim. Not contributed, not were a part of, but just built. Then, black men who don't get paid to keep that story alive, they started speaking. Now, what they said was quieter and heavier. So let's just get into this one.
She claims Trump doesn't want America to pay her and other black people for what they've done to us.
Is about financial repair to the descendants of the enslaved Africans.
Say what you mean, so you can say so people understand. Yes.
Reparations.
Yes.
I think this reflects a really broad effort by the Trump administration to reshape the way the nation's history is told so that this country does not have to pay black people for the forced labor and the unpaid labor that built this country.
This is going to be a hot take. I never have once believed that black people actually built the United States of America. They were part of building the United States of America, but the United States of America has always been majority white. White people built it, for the most part. Now, you may say they get credit where they probably shouldn't get credit. You may say that black inventors should get more credit than they've gotten. That's fine. But don't get it twisted, Sonny. Don't get it twisted. The American people do not owe black people anything. Black people owe something to themselves. They owe the idea of stop being a victim and move on. And if there is going to be anything that the American people should pay black people for, and I've said this yesterday, incentivize black people to get married and have kids and stay married. That's what we should be incentivized to do. If we can do that, things would be definitely different. Right now, black people are incentivized to be the culture with the highest abortion rate at 42%. Highest single parent household, highest birth out of wedlock. I ain't go on and on and on. So now, Sonny Hostin, you get an F.
The grading. He didn't raise his voice, man. He just refused the premise. Black people were a part of building America. Definitely were, we were not the primary builders of a country that has always been majority right. And that is not hate. That's population math, all right? Sonny Hostin needs the bigger claim because the smaller ones doesn't justify a permanent check. The moment you accept contribution instead of sole ownership, the moral leverage collapses. And that is exactly why the larger claim stays on television. Now, the same clip hits different. Hits a different black man, rather, let me say that. And he goes somewhere the daytime shows they don't follow.
If this doesn't sound like mama, or it's the spirit of mama, just like blaming daddy.
I think the real reason behind this is about financial repair to the descendants of the enslaved Africans.
Say what you mean, so you can say so people understand. Yes.
Reparations. Yes. I think this reflects a really broad effort by the Trump administration to reshape the way the nation's history is told so that this country does not have to pay black people for the forced labor and the unpaid labor that built this country. March 25th, 2026, just this year, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution officially declaring that the transatlantic trafficking and racialized chattel enslavement of Africans is the gravest crime against humanity in history, in the world. Only 3 countries voted against it: Argentina, Israel, and the United States. Mm-hmm. And when the United States voted against it, the United States said the following: it does not recognize a legal right to reparations for historical wrongs that were not illegal under international law at the time they occurred.
Is that a mama spirit, evil spirit, deceiving spirit, or not? Your mama tell you the same thing. You need reparation, baby. Your daddy didn't pay child support. Your dad was here, but your daddy didn't really treat me well. Your daddy cheated on me. So don't love your daddy. He hurt mama. But mama don't tell you that she drove him crazy. She doesn't tell you that she prevent him from seeing you. Same thing, Sonny.
Yeah, Jesse Lee Peterson heard the same demand and recognized the spirit behind it. It is the same voice that tells the child his father is the problem while never examining the home the child actually lives in. Reparations talk works the same way. It points at the past so no one has to look at the present. It is easier to demand payment from a country than to demand presence from a man. One keeps the cameras on, the other requires actual change. Now, from historical debt to a current death, rather, watch how fast the script flipped when the victim just does not fit.
You know, I wish that you racists, especially you plantation Negroes, would just come out and admit that y'all are the ones that wanted Nolan Wells to be murdered. Y'all really wanted something bad to happen to that boy simply so that y'all could keep that we hate white people rhetoric going. Y'all are so mad. Y'all are so mad about it to the point that y'all are coming up with so much speculation. Y'all have literally coming up with your own thesis to this boy's death. Like, we get it, okay? We get that you are racist. We get that y'all want to hate white people with every inch and fiber of your being. However, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this Nolan Wells case isn't the case. Now, I truly believe that Nolan Wells got drunk and he drowned. And that's all I got. There was nothing racial about this case whatsoever. It's y'all. It's y'all and the Civil Rights Coon Brigade. They got into the ears of Nolan's parents, and then here we are. See, that's one thing about my people. You know, that's why I feel like a lot of you black people are dumb. Because y'all let some of the dumbest, most asinine people just lead y'all astray. Because here you go having Ben Crump standing up there sounding like the first slave that just learned how to start reading books, tell us about this independent autopsy that proved everything that we all knew. That nothing happened, or at least no foul play. He knew that independent autopsy was inconclusive. That's why it took him so long to sit up here and tell y'all the results, because he wanted it to be something, and it was nothing. It was nothing to tell nobody. And now y'all hurt, coming up with any kind of excuse in the book just so that y'all can continue to be your racist selves. The sickest part about this whole entire case is the parents. It's because they made the whole entire world feel like these white boys did something to her child when she knew that these kids were friends. Because why would you let your child go out on a boat with a bunch of white people if you were afraid of them? They basically turned their back on their son's friends for an opportunity, for a money grab with the Civil Rights Coon Brigade. You know, at this point, this case is still active and very much open. I'm still waiting on the results from the real law enforcement, the real people that is actually putting the work in to finding out what happened to him. Everything that's happening right now is performative and adding fuel to the fire for the hate of white people. There is an attack on white people by the black community, and if this case does not prove it to you, then congratulations. Probably more than likely you're the racist that's a part of all of this.
So, an 18-year-old black young man dies. Within hours, the racial machinery tries to claim him. Then a black woman looks at the camera and says the quiet refusal. Y'all cannot make this one about race. She even had to get over it. That is a refusal to let every tragedy become campaign material, in my opinion. The same networks that would play Sonny Hostin's reparation clips on loop go silent when a black voice rejects the race assignment, if you will. Selective grief is still a strategy. Now, watch what happens when the racism is aimed the other direction and the black man refuses to pretend he didn't see it.
I'd better not hear any more complaining about racism, about systemic racism, about how you can't get this because of the white man, or it's the system that's against me, or why can't we have this, and why can't reference videos like this, because you were the only one doing anything in this video against other people. The rest of those people were just camping out from the rain, but you had to make it, I'm not friends with any of them. They don't want to be friends with you, LaQuisha. They were minding their own business. They were in their own groups. They were talking. You were the one that had to make all of that about yourself. And I'm understanding now where all the fatigue is coming from. I mean, I got it before, and I got my own fatigue. Trust me. Don't link me in with people like her, because that just pisses me off, because now I'm like, no, I'm not like, I don't even know her like that. That ain't my people, no. But I'm getting where the fatigue is coming from. I'm getting where the frustration is coming from. I'm getting where I'm so tired of you. I'm sick and tired of you and those like you. I get where it's all coming from. I completely understand it now. So yeah, I better not hear anything else about systemic racism or nothing else. Just, because y'all are actually undoing everything that the civil rights struggle fought for. And your ancestors, you talk about my ancestors being ashamed of me because I'm a coon. No, your ancestors, your grandparents, people you directly know, are pissed off at you because they marched and they fought and they did everything they could just so that y'all could undo all of it because you need something to fight against, which is stupid in so many different levels. Zeke Arkham, gotcha 6. Bye.
A woman films herself under a shelter and makes sure everyone knows the white people next to her are not her friends. She does not know them. She is just avoiding rain. A retired black police lieutenant just called it what it is. Racism does not become virtue because the person practicing it is black. The same ideology that demands America apologize for every historical sin goes quiet when the sin is happening in real time on a phone camera. That silence is the tell, man. This next one is the story many people already know. So listen carefully to what it is used for.
Watch this video and let's talk about it.
It's so weird watching black people get mad at white people for starting functioning white communities. It's like, how happy we'd be to see black people start a functioning black community. Like, we would leave you to it. We would be, oh my goodness, good for you guys.
I'm Dr. Michael H. Ford, and let's talk about what you just saw. Now, he said that white people would be happy to see black people build a functioning community, that they would leave them alone, that they would cheer them on. Sir, black people have been building functioning communities since the moment they were freed from slavery. And let me show you what happened every single time. Wilmington, North Carolina. Black residents built political power and a thriving economy. A white mob staged a coup, the only successful armed overthrow of a local government in American history, and burned it down. Atlanta, Georgia. Thriving black business district, white mob of 10,000 men destroyed. East St. Louis, Illinois. Prosperous black community burned to the ground because white residents resented black economic success. Washington, D.C. The largest, most prosperous black community in America. Attacked during Red Summer, a coordinated reign of terror targeting thriving black communities across the country. Chicago. Thriving black community. White mobs attacked. 38 killed. Over 1,000 black families left homeless overnight. Ocoee, Florida. Prosperous black landowners tried to vote. Entire community burned to the ground. Historians call it the single bloodiest day in modern American political history. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, the wealthiest black community in America. Money circulated within the community for 19 months before leaving it. Burned to the ground in 18 hours, over 300 killed. Rosewood, Florida, thriving, self-sufficient black town with churches, with schools and businesses. Every single structure burned to the ground. Every residence permanently displaced. Then when the mobs put down their torches, the government picked up the policy. The 1930s, redlining. The federal government made it officially illegal to insure mortgages in black neighborhoods, blocking generational wealth building in every black community in America simultaneously. 1949 to 1974 urban renewal, a program so racially targeted, its own administrators openly called it Negro removal. It demolished hundreds of black neighborhoods and displaced 50,000 black families every single year at its peak. This guy said white people would be happy to see it, that they would leave black communities alone, that they would say, oh my goodness, good for you guys. The mobs didn't, the banks didn't, the federal government didn't. Black people built functioning communities over and over and over again. And they were burned down and bulldozed every single time, not because they were failing, but because they were succeeding. And that is the history he clearly never learned.
So Wilmington, Tulsa, black communities that were attacked and destroyed. That history is real. It is documented. It should be taught. The problem is not the history, though. The problem is what gets done with it. It is turned into permanent political currency. A check that never clears and never expires, while the same political class that waves those images refuse to talk about the choices being made right now that destroy more black wealth and more black children than any mob in 1921. History is not a credit card. It is literally just a warning. Those are not the same thing. Last voice, same man from the first clip, my boy Davari. Different subject, but this is the part that actually explains everything you just watched.
Education, crime, and the family. Those are three things that are the biggest problems that we have within the community. We have a very, I would say, widely uneducated class of people. You can see it in how they vote, how they speak, how they carry themselves. It's a big problem. And when it comes to education, when it comes to crime, when it comes to crime, I mean, we're living it. We're looking at cities like Detroit and Chicago. These used to be the wonderful cities. Detroit used to be the Paris of the West. Now it's the Baghdad of the West. It looks terrible. It's awful to live in such cities. But there exists a lot of people who are realizing that this crime, this destruction, this cancerous culture and existence is miserable. No one wants to live around it. I mean, regardless of if white people or anyone else is having a problem with it, we have to live in it. That's the thing that I always tell black people. Like, you're so worried about what white people are doing and what's going on with whitey. Well, you have to live in it, brother. You have to live in all the crime. You have to live in all the robbery, all the dysfunctional households. You have to see it. And then going into that, the family. I think that it's important for black women and black men to realize that their purpose, their roles it's been completely shifted. Black women dominate the household. The men are completely absent. Black women think that they run the community when they are running the community, but it's failing. And black men are completely absent from their role in being the leaders and being the mouthpieces and being the example of excellence for both black children, both sons and their daughters. So we really need to focus on those three things. That's the most important. I don't really get into I know there's a lot of people, especially on the black right, that talk about many things. I like to focus on how we can aggressively combat the culture within the community. I'm not for talking about anything else other than how we can better ourselves and how we can really attack this problem that we have to deal with every day.
So Andre Williams does not talk about what white people owe. He talks about what is missing inside the house. He says black women running a household, black men absent from the role of leader, example, and provider, cities that used to work now looking like war zones, and the people living in them still being told the problem is outside of the community. I mean, you can demand reparations until the end of time. You cannot cash a check written on a broken home. The loudest demands for historical payment come from the same ideology that spent decades rewarding the exact conditions that produced the worst outcomes. That is not justice. That's literally a business model. So Sonny Hostin said America owes black people. These black men answered, without asking for permission. They did not deny history at all. They refused to let history become the only story allowed, though. Contribution is real. So ownership, is a political tool. Race baiting every tragedy is a political tool. Preventing and pretending only one direction of prejudice counts is a political tool. Using the destruction of black communities as permanent moral leverage while ignoring the destruction happening inside those same communities right now. That's the tool that never gets examined on daytime television. The debt conversation will continue. It is too useful to stop. But the men in these clips pointed at something heavier than money. They pointed at home, at the father who was not there, at the leadership that was traded for a narrative. A country can be asked to pay. A child still needs a man in the house. Those two facts are not in conflict unless someone needs them to be. So, if you made it to the end of this video, I want you to write the word ledger. That's a word we used before. And last but not least, I want to leave y'all with this. Be watchful, stand firm in faith, act like men, be strong. That's 1 Corinthians 16 and 13. Be safe. Go check on somebody today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Peace.